You're like, no, they're never going to give up that free money. And I'm thinking it doesn't cost them anything, so they should give it away free.
Yeah, this is a leaked memo to employees. And obviously, leaked memos, we've seen them before, and sometimes they could be intentionally leaked. There's a chance for that.
The original Steam controller, how many do you think it sold? Hey everybody, welcome back to the NerdNest podcast. I'm your host, Bill Fairchild, and I am joined today by just two guys, Russ and Rich. You guys can try and figure out which one's which one's which.
Oh,
but
Rich,
how's it going, man? Oh, there you go. Look at those puns.
It's going great over here. I've had like a super busy week, so I haven't had as much time to like play video games, get the news, but that's why I'm excited to really dig in today.
Yeah, I mean, we have games that we've played, and we'll talk about them later on in the episode, but I didn't play a whole lot either. I got super sick after last episode. Like, I was down and out for 4 solid days. I only went to work 3 days this week. It was bad, and I was too sick to even, like, lift a controller. It was pathetic, but I'm feeling a whole lot better now. That whoa that you just heard was not Keanu Reeves. That was Russ from Retro Game Core. How's it going, man?
Good. I was talking to Kerry yesterday, and, he's been working so hard and getting Linux running on his Retroid Pocket Flip or whatever. And I was telling him about all the Steam stuff that got dropped and all the Proton stuff, and I was going to make a video about it. He got so mad. He came out of the screen and punched me right in the eye right here. So that's why I'm a little bit swollen right here. Just kidding. It's like a little infection. And so, but yeah, that's why he's not here today. We kicked him off the show, unfortunately, for
never to be
assaulting
seen
a
again.
fellow member.
You can't be doing that. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be back next week. He had some stuff going on, but we have a lot of things to talk about today. And I'm not going to even try and list all the things because who knows if we're going to get through it all. But man, there was some big news that dropped this week that I was really mad that I was too sick to make a video about. So I'm super excited I get to sit down and talk to you guys about it.
Nice.
Okay, so first off, Brad Lynch, a.k.a. Sadly It's Bradley, he posted over on Twitter that Valve has received its first large quantity of imports of a wireless PC controller in the U.S. last week. The post lines up with Valve's already announced 2026 Steam controller plan, but Lynch did not include the source in his post, so they found it themselves. This is an article from videocards.com. The public record does not reveal how many controllers were inside. It lists 40 packages and a gross weight of 12,970 kilograms, which is a lot. So the exact unit count remains unknown. Now, I did a little bit of napkin math. It was terrible napkin math, and it's probably wrong, but the Steam controller is known to weigh about 292 grams. If we add packaging, which would probably be somewhere around half that would be about 175 grams of packing material per unit. And then if we divide that out, that comes out to roughly 30,000 controllers. So their first shipment in is about 30,000 controllers. So I've got 2 questions for you guys, and then we're going to talk. Number 1, do you think that this shipment coming in means that we're getting close? And secondly, do you think if 30,000 controllers is an accurate number, we'll just pretend that my ridiculous napkin math is right, do you think it's going to be hard to get a Steam controller based on my napkin math numbers? Rich, I'm going to start with you. What do you think, man?
Yeah, where I stand on this. I definitely think it's time to get excited. I don't know like how close we are, but I feel like this is the first real sign that we're close, right? And again, it could be 2 weeks, 2 months. I don't know. It's Valve, but this is the first real sign. And so, yeah, I'm starting to get excited. The question of, is this going to like be hard to get? I think the answer is kind of the same no matter what we knew of like this particular shipment, which is, yeah, it's going to sell out day one, right? Like Valve does not usually stock more than what they expect demand to be. They usually go well under what they expect demand to be, I think. And then we, We buy all the copies, we buy all the pieces of hardware, and then Valve will do like another, shipment and do more waves, and that's what I expect them to do here.
Okay. Oh, I think I want to push back on what you just said a little bit, because you said Valve usually does this. Valve's not a hardware company. They don't usually do hardware. The last time that they did hardware was right after, during the chip shortage, which was unexpected, and that's why they ran out of inventory. I think that they expected that they would have enough to satisfy demand at the time, and then they just couldn't because of the chip shortage. But maybe I'm wrong.
I'm going to push back on your pushback, Bill.
Ooh, all right. Double
pushback. No, I think those are fair points. My thought is that I think it's still by design, generally speaking. I think they're very risk averse. And I think that they're not a hardware company like Sony, like Microsoft, maybe, I feel like that's questionable at this point. Not for Xbox, just Microsoft as a company, and Nintendo as well. But like at this point, they are a hardware company relative to other, like, let's say boutique, not like Ioneo boutique, but well ahead of Ioneo, right? So like Ioneo is a hardware company in that they only sell hardware, right? But they're just not at the scale of a PlayStation. I think at this point it's fair to call Valve a hardware company too, because they're pretty much at the scale of a like Lenovo, not on their whole product line, but on a single product, they probably will outsell a single Lenovo product.
Like you mean like the Legion whatevers, the handhelds.
Even a laptop, right? Like
really? Okay.
Yeah, I think that they won't outsell all the Lenovo laptops put together, but if you were to take one model, the Steam machine will probably outsell that model. That's my guess. Yeah.
All right. Russ, in his awesome pink Deftones shirt, you got to break the tie.
Yeah. So the first question, do I think it indicates we're getting close? I would say yes, because these are not prototypes. They're not going to ship 30,000 prototypes, right? So this is obviously some sort of retail product, if it is controllers, right? And I've heard, 25, 30,000 is like, I've heard other estimates and stuff. I heard one person saying, oh, those are the review units. I'm like, there's not 30,000
review units.
There's going to be like 100, 200 maybe. That's what I'm thinking for review units for media and stuff, like 30,000. Come on. But whether or not it's going to be hard to get a hold of, I'm not sure, because I am expecting this to be one of many shipments. Like this might be the first shipment that they're going as they're stocking the warehouse. I think 30,000 would not be enough to fulfill demand right now, I'm guessing. I don't know how many people like are into controllers and want a new controller and stuff, but I'm thinking in terms of scale and supply chain that they are kind of at the level of what they can deliver at kind of the level of like 8-bit dough is kind of what I'm thinking of, like that kind of that level of like a third party controller manufacturer, that they're going to be able to meet that kind of demand. I just don't know sales wise, like how many people are going to be sure, the three of us are very excited about this, right? And sure, a few thousand people watching this are going to be into it, but how much is that? Like, is it going to be 30,000 people total into this? 100,000? Like, I'm not really sure what the scale of a Steam controller is going to be in terms of demand. And honestly, I think that, and kind of what Rich is saying, is that it's probably better to do with less, and to have maybe a little bit less, and then manufacture to scale as demand kind of increases. Maybe there'll be a pre-order period, so they'll be able to get ahead of it. But yeah, I'm not sure. That's kind of my thoughts, is that I'm sticking kind of with on the Rich side, in that I think that they're going to have not enough to meet demand because they're going to be safe about it.
I think that's a great point too, with regard to like the sales that they'll probably get. I think I feel pretty strongly that like Steam Machine, Steam Controller, and Steam Frame, like all of those are awesome products that will probably not come anywhere near Steam Deck sales. I feel that's about right? Like it won't come close to Steam Deck sales.
I agree.
Individually, right? And so these are just, each of them have their own like niche. There are a lot of people that want Steam controllers, and that niche doesn't necessarily intersect with the people that want Steam Frame. And there are people that want Steam Machine, and a lot of those people will want a Steam controller. But Bill, you've seen it and you've said it. You want a Steam controller. You're not as excited. You're excited about the Steam Machine, don't get me wrong, but you're more excited about the Steam controller.
Oh, absolutely. And the reason is I already have a computer. I think that the Steam controller, obviously the Steam controller is for everybody who orders a Steam Machine is probably going to want one. But, and whether or not it's a pack-in is definitely another conversation to have. But I feel like the Steam controller by itself is for every single person out there that has a computer and has a Steam Deck, or the people who just have a Steam Deck and a dock. Like, every time that I play a game on my Steam Deck and then I dock it, or I play the same game on my main PC, every single time I'm like, ugh, I don't have capacitive joysticks. Ugh, I don't have the touchpads to do all the cool stuff. Ugh, I don't have enough back paddles or whatever it is that I want. And the Steam controller kind of levels that playing field, so I always feel like I have the same inputs available to me every single time. And like, I think right now, my understanding is that they've sold, I mean, it's been a while since we've gotten these numbers, but around 5 to 6, maybe 7 million Steam Decks. So 30,000 Steam controllers ain't going to cut it.
Right.
So, okay, it kind of goes back to my question, though. Is like, how big is this demand? How many people are staying awake at night just craving the Steam controller? You know what I mean? Like, because you're talking about docking a Steam Deck and then thinking to yourself, I don't have those capacitive touch things. I need my trackpads. That, to me, sounds like a minority of a minority, you know? And so I just don't know how large that audience is. And that's what I'm really curious about. It's like, how big is a success is this going to be, you know? And I think that it just makes sense for them to go small and then scale up as needed, because just me kind of throwing things out there, but I feel like manufacturing a controller like this is a lot easier than manufacturing a handheld PC, you know,
right?
In terms of like storage, RAM, screen configurations, all that kind of stuff. You don't really have to worry about that stuff. And so I feel like this is something that can be built relatively quickly as long as they've got the supply chain figured out. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how big of a success this is going to be and what actually constitutes a success in that regard.
That's a good question too.
I just found some information. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Rich, I'm going to have you make an estimate, and then Russ, I'm going to have you do an over-under. Okay? Mm-hmm. You guys ready? Here we go.
Let's go the other way. No, I'm good.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, the original Steam controller. I just looked up how many units did it sell. Now, this is lifetime for that device. It only had one joystick. It didn't have a D-pad. So obviously, when people looked at this thing, they were like, ugh, you know? I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It's one of the reasons I was super excited for the Steam Deck. But the original Steam controller, how many do you think it sold?
Okay. So I think, I don't know how important this is to this question, but I think 2013 Steam machines sold somewhere between 200 and 300,000 Steam machines.
Mm-hmm.
So
something like that.
And I feel like 100,000 Steam controllers would be ridiculous sold. So I'm gonna go higher than 30K. I'm gonna say
45K,
and that feels
lifetime.
Generous. Yeah.
Okay.
Lifetime.
All right, Russ, over under on that.
I was thinking way over. Like, I was thinking like 200,000 total. Like, because it's several years it was sold, right?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it is kind
years.
of like a unicorn. Like, I've never actually seen one in the wild, so I'm not seeing it around. But at the same time, I feel like, 200 was what I was thinking.
They also did have a fire sale where they were dumping inventory for $5
I think that's
a
how
piece.
I got mine.
Right.
When it was on fire sale. Yeah.
Okay. You ready to find out the number?
Tell us.
Leave a comment down below if you guys want to guess the number before I actually say it. No cheating. All right, here we go. 1.5 million.
Get out of here. That's
what it says. That's what the AI
insane.
slop says.
Oh my god.
That's according to Wikipedia. 1.5 million units before being discontinued in June 2016.
And we can safely say this is going to sell more than that, right? So, yeah, we are looking at least 3, I'd imagine.
There are so many good controllers out there, though. You know what I mean? Like, I am not like concerned about getting my hands on the Steam controller. I want to try it out. Sure, that's fine. But like, there's so many good stuff out there now, and I just don't know how many people are going to be scrambling to get them. Maybe I just don't understand scale in that regard. But
here's my.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was just going to say that Russ makes a really good point that when the original Steam controller came out, our options for good third-party controllers were very limited, and now
especially
we're living in the golden age of third-party controllers, where it ain't the Mad Catz jank controller that you handed your little brother. Now everybody gets a good controller these days. What were you going to say though, Rich?
Here's how I'll attempt to like rationalize that is even if, assuming that it sells that well today, even despite the fact that we're spoiled for choice when it comes to controllers, is that like the way we're spoiled for choice is that like, yeah, you can choose a Hori pad, Bill, you can choose 8BitDo, someone else can choose, Gullikit. Is that the
Gullikit? Yep.
Gullikit, GameSir. Yep.
But when it comes to Valve, right, like there are a lot of people that are waiting for anything Valve does, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a controller, VR, console, or a handheld, right? Whatever it is that they do, they're going to want to buy that. And so it's more of that, not affection, but interest in Valve than it is the controller. And so maybe that's what's driving.
Sure.
Because, yeah, 1.5 million, I would not have expected that clearly.
They've got a free advertising platform, the Steam like storefront, and as well as just like Steam in general. When you open it up, throw a little banner ad on there, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, I do need a new controller, and this one's just looking at me, so I might as well grab that one. You don't see that same kind of integration from 8BitDo and GameSir and Gillicut and stuff. So yeah, I can see that doing really well. But yeah, I don't know how excited people are about controllers in general, besides the 3 of us who obviously we are.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, we've got it. It seems like it's right around the corner. I want to take a second to just plug a shirt that I made right now before it's no longer relevant, because soon ain't nobody going to want that shirt. But I made a shirt mostly as a joke. Just the shirt is titled When, and for the audio listeners, I'll describe it. But for the people who are watching the show on youtube.com/NerdNest, the shirt, basically it says early 26, and then there's a line through it, and then first half of 2026, and then there's a line through it, then coming soon, and then there's a line through it, and then hope for 2026, and then there's a line through it, and then will ship 2026. So if you want to get a shirt like that, there's links down below. We've got hoodies and t-shirts and stuff like that. I just figured that I would take a second to shill that shirt as best that I can, and I'm trying to find the stop sharing button. Bringing the call back here. There we go. Find the stop sharing button real quick. All right.
Shill that shirt, baby. I like that.
That's right.
Turn of phrase. Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments section down below. And we are going to move on to our next topic, and that is this article. I found this article. Rich posted this article to our private Discord from Rocknix. So, Rich, I'm going to let you set this up for us.
Yeah, so this was just a couple nights ago, or one night ago, perhaps. But yeah, Rocknix yesterday. Okay, it's posted that. And by the way, this article is written by Michael Larabelle of Valve. So Proton 11.0 beta released with more games playable on Steam Play, and it just talks through some of the games that were made playable. So the Golden Sword, Dino Crisis, From Dust, Don't Die, Metal Gear Survive, and Warhammer Vermintide 2, among others. But the point here is 11.0 is now available for the first beta. And the big thing here is, bringing FEX into Proton officially. So this is now making games playable without needing to go through, say, Game Native, Game Hub, on ARM ARM devices. It'll, on Linux at least.
Russ, you've been actually using this. I'm using quotes because I'm not we seem like we're not sure how it's working, right?
Yeah, so I don't understand the inner workings well enough to know whether or not they're related. But Rocknix, which is a Linux-based operating system that runs on ARM-based devices, including high-end ones like the Odin 2, the whole line of Odin 2, and then also this Thor and stuff like that. So Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And this is like the same kind of thing that Kerry was messing around with last week that he was telling us about. So they yesterday launched Steam as an app within Rocknix, and so you can just go in with the latest nightly build of their OS, and then you can just go in, install Steam. It just starts up Steam as like it's an app, so it's not going into game scope, it's not going into death or game mode like you would on a Steam Deck, but instead it's just running the Linux version of that app. But because of this ARM compatibility, which I'm assuming either they pulled from this FEX 2604 or they built it in themselves, I'm not really sure. The timing is just kind of strange because this came out before that announcement, so I don't know how fast they were on the take. And I'm assuming they had to test it for a few days before they did it. But either way, so I can now go into Rocknix on my Thor or other device and just go into Steam, find my library, and it's just like navigating through big picture mode, start up a game, and there's a lot of bugs. Like right now, it's not necessarily the games that are having issues. It's the interface between Rocknix and launching the game correctly. So often I'll start up a game and then the game runs in the background behind Steam Big Picture mode. So I can hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a fun game to play, but I can't tab over into that other window to actually play it. There's no alt tab on these handhelds, And so there's just some kinks that need to be worked out. But I think in general, super exciting, and performance wise, I haven't been able to get a lot of heavy duty games to run because it's running off of an SD card on Rocknix. And so it just takes forever to download it and to launch it. Like it just takes a while. So I don't want to do big heavy games, but the heaviest game I've tried was Replaced, which came out this week, which is a surprisingly heavy game. Like it's not easy to run, but I was running it at 1080p at a playable frame rate. I'm not able to see what the frames per second are in the menu, but I would guess around 30. And it's pretty amazing. Like it feels like it's already getting the performance that Game Native and Game Hub are at after a year of development. And we're talking day one, which is pretty awesome.
That is amazing. And so I don't think I can shed a ton of light on like Rocknix, but I can say that build of Steam is like a community or Rocknix developed build of Steam. Like it's not Valve providing, a Steam build here. I suspect that this is leveraging the fact that, Proton 11 has been made available because from Steam, the way it's launching is through Steam Play, right? And my understanding is that this is the first time FEX is now available in Steam Play officially, right? Like you could have hooked it up beforehand. So maybe that is something that they're doing, but this is the first time it's available officially through Steam Play. And so I suspect that they're leveraging that, but I think importantly, this is just like the Steam controller shipment, right? This is another big sign, 2 big signs in the same week that they're essentially getting ready to ship, right? So one is a software signal, the other one being a hardware signal, but the signs are clearly there, I think.
Yeah, and it's exciting, like just the potential of this. Obviously, like I'm working on a video. I've been recording footage all day and just trying to get these games to run. And I think I haven't finished the video, but I think my conclusion is going to be like, hey, this is really cool. You don't need to do it, but it is really cool to see that this is happening right now and super promising 6 months from now.
You know what else this opens up? I think that'll excite some people is pretty soon, I imagine, we'll start seeing like a Mac OS build with this, with FEX available and being able to play basically anything on a MacBook, right? Or at least try to play basically anything on a MacBook. So that should be exciting as well.
Yeah, Game Hub is already in a beta for running on Mac right now. I went into their Discord. I'm like, hi, my name is Russ. Please let me in, kind of thing. Even though I know those folks because they're a game server basically.
Right, yeah.
But they didn't respond. So I'm not in that closed beta, which is unfortunate, but all good.
Yeah, that one, I don't know his name, but that one guy, is he CEO, owner of GameSir? He seems to be doing a lot. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like he always
yeah,
seems
controllers,
controllers, software, so he's always doing something.
he is crazy. Like one of my favorite moments of CES is going and seeing him every year and just hearing the crazy things coming out of his mouth and his ideas, because he's young. I mean, he's probably mid 20s now, but he was like 17, 18 when he started the company, and he's just got all these fun ideas, and he's very retro game minded, which is always fun for us to talk about. So yeah, super cool.
I feel like these companies that are making things like GameSir and stuff like that, I feel like companies like that, there's a beetle on me. Damn it. Jesus. I don't like bugs. And it's beetle season. They're coming out and they're crawling all over the outside of the house, and some of them get in. Anyway, sorry for that. I feel like these companies like GameSir, they're so small that they I bet you that CEO is doing 14 jobs. You know what I mean?
Probably.
Because they can't afford to keep everybody on to do what they got to do, especially with the way things have been.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, fun fact before you move over. I just read yesterday that 25% of all animals on the planet are beetles.
Ooh, that is
crazy?
a crazy stat.
Yeah.
That is insane.
That doesn't seem possible.
It does not.
25% of all the animals on the planet right now are beetles.
What are the bug people?
Entomologists or something?
Entomologists, not etymologists. Yeah. Entomologist. If you're an entomologist, tell us in the chat. I want to know.
The other crazy fact I learned was that if you took all the mammals on the planet and put them in a bag and try to reach in and pull them out, 20% of the time you'd pull out a bat. Isn't that crazy?
What? You're blowing my mind today.
I think he's on TikTok. Are you on TikTok?
No,
yeah, are you on TikTok?
This was Reddit. I read it on Reddit. It's real.
It must be real.
If you read it on Reddit, it has to be real.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's for real.
But
Rich, a second ago... Oh, go ahead.
Are you still talking about Proton? Because
I am still talking about Proton. Okay, I had a quick question.
Yeah, okay. Go for it.
A minute ago, you said you're playing. This is launching through Steam Play. Did you mean Steam Works? Or am I having a brain fart? What is Steam Play? I can't remember.
Steam Play is there. I'm looking it up now, but is there layer where you can select different not emulators, but you can select different things with which to launch a game. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So it is their
framework. Different assets?
No. Steam Play is how Steam knows to launch this game using Proton. Or if you want to switch it, you want to switch it to use just vanilla Wine, that's how it knows to launch using Wine. I forget now what the other mid layers are, but you can switch those layers, and some are better for some games than Proton, right? And so on Windows, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Batocera, which is a Linux-based operating system, it also allows you to load up Steam, and then there's an option within there. You have to enable Steam Play, and that's for Windows games, basically. It's in order to get them to run on Linux through their thing. So that makes sense. Yeah, it's like whatever translation or compatibility layer they're going to use. Yeah,
so this is the first time that essentially Proton for ARM is being added to that Steam Play layer.
Very cool.
The thing I was going to ask is, have you guys seen Steam on Switch now?
I saw that, but I didn't watch the video because I was at work. I just saw somebody mention it on my Discord, and I was like, that's wild.
That's wild. Yeah, so I think we're just going to see more and more of that in the next let's say 1 to 2 weeks. We're going to see a lot of that. And I'm super excited. It's an exciting time, I think.
We've talked about this a lot in the past, about the idea of Valve just shipping a phone, right? Mm-hmm. But what I think is way more likely, the more that I think about it, is that somebody's going to make a phone and then partner with Valve, kind of like, what's the first non-Steam hardware that had Steam OS on it?
The Legion Go S.
Legion Go S, thank you. Just like the Legion Go S, where Lenovo is like, we're going to make a phone. And let's throw Steam on there as the operating system. How long do you guys think it'll be before we get, I don't know, the OnePlus Steam or the Oppo Find Steam or something like that kind of thing, or the Samsung Steam Galaxy 3 or whatever. How much time before you actually get a launch like that?
I think that it's going to come down to that. I think Valve will probably watch what's happening in terms of the community and where the enthusiasm is going and maybe follow that. So I'm not thinking about phones. I'm thinking about like handhelds and stuff. And I feel a bit of part of the process too is like showing people how cool this can be on various different things, like a Retroid Pocket 6, and this thing can run Steam on it, and then they're like, wow, that would be really neat as like a mini Steam Deck. And then I don't know, I could see them potentially talking to like the community developers and kind of getting an in, and kind of figuring out how they can work together, much in the same way that like, used to make like 8BitDo videos and be like, this thing doesn't work properly on the Steam Deck. 8BitDo needs to fix this. And then Steam, like Valve went and fixed it on their end. You know what I mean? In terms of compatibility. So that's what I'm kind of envisioning, is that it's going to start kind of homegrown and kind of cottage industry and then move into a place where it gets Valve's attention. And that's where we're going to see something. I don't know if the manufacturers are going to think about this and be like, we need a Steam phone. Like I'm not sure if that's going to happen at the manufacturer level, but rather at the grassroots level. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and there's still quite a bit of a hill to climb because, right now what we're talking about is Linux on ARM. And so if we're talking about Android on ARM, well, that is still possible, as we can see with GameHub and Game Native, but Valve is not yet, and I know that they must be thinking about this in the background, but they don't yet seem motivated to deal with that. They're dealing with this problem now, and then they'll figure that out. And I think, Russ, you're right. They'll probably wait to see where the community interest lies. But it's almost impossible to overestimate how long Valve will take to do something because
right.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Valve time is a thing for a reason.
Yeah.
I do feel like software wise, and not only just software, but like Proton and Wine and all these kind of things that they work through, effects and whatnot, that I feel like moves at a faster pace, and they're more experimental. They're willing to kind of do these cool things as opposed to like creating a product and putting that out, and so I do think that this is somewhere where I see all the innovations potentially happening a lot sooner than your typical Valve timeline.
Yeah, there's this saying, I forget exactly how it goes, but something like, you overestimate what you can do in a week and underestimate what you can do in a year. And Valve is like the embodiment of that, right? Like if you think about what you want Valve to do and try to put a timeline on it, they'll probably disappoint you. But if you just let Valve cook and just let them do what they want to do, you'll be surprised by how quickly they make progress, because but very few people were asking for Steam on Linux, right? Like that was not what people were looking for. But that's what it took for them to deliver what we actually wanted, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, hey, when the Steam Deck first got announced and they were like, and it runs Steam OS, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. What's that? And they were like, it's Linux. I was like, ooh, I'm not really interested in using Linux. Linux is supposed to be really hard to use. Turns out it's not. It works pretty well. They've made huge strides since the last time that I had tried it 20 plus years ago, So, like, I think that you're right about, like, if you just close your eyes and you wait, you're going to open them and you're going to be like, whoa, they've made huge strides. They've made some big changes that I didn't expect. But I'm going to try and answer my own question. I give it 2 years from the launch of the Steam Frame, because the Steam Frame is ARM and it's running SteamOS. And if they have it running on ARM, on SteamOS running on ARM for Steam Frame, I bet we will get a third-party manufacturer that is going to put out either A, a phone, or B, one of these little fun handheld things like the AYN Thor. I think we'll get one of them that has SteamOS just built in, shipping with it as an option. Like you'll be able to pick from a drop down. You'd be like, okay, well, do I want white or black? I want black. Do I want it to have red buttons or yellow buttons? I'll go with the red buttons. And do I want it SteamOS or Android? I'm going to go, or regular Android. I'll go SteamOS. And then boom, we're off to the races. I think 2 years from whenever the frame actually gets here.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I guess the the way I'm seeing it is that, right now, like I mentioned, Rocknix is running off an SD card. It doesn't have to. You can actually, there's a setting within there. You go into system settings and like, hey, go ahead and overwrite my Android ROM with like the actual Rocknix build, and you can just make it your internal storage. And I never do that. And I never suggest anyone does that because it's going to wipe your Android, right? But I envision in 2 years that we'll get to a point where I will want to do that. Like it's going to be that good. Like we're going to be able to have not only all the emulation stuff and then also things like Portmaster and whatnot, but then also be able to log in and just play our Steam games. Like that's where I see this heading, in a way that's to the point where I'll probably replace Android on some of my devices, which is crazy.
Very well.
I've got a bit of breaking news. Yeah. So
thank
you for doing the
Share
breaking
your
news
screen,
sound.
man.
All right. So this once again
I want to see this.
comes from, sadly, it's Bradley.
He's all over the place this week.
He is. Dude is a machine.
He's insane.
Rich and I, Rich and I did an episode one day where it was just the two of us, and the thing that we remarked on was the idea that, 15 minutes after something happened at like 3 o'clock in the morning, Bradley had posted his, there you go.
This is 43 minutes old. And so he's sharing that now. I was basically saying this, so I was a little ahead of myself. Now, Fex and ARM version of Steam Linux Runtime comes bundled with the Steam client. So this is from steamdb.info, and it shows that in the Steam client, you now get the Steam Linux Runtime for ARM. So that's pretty neat.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's time. Things are happening.
Things are happening. Let us know what you think about all of the things that are happening in the comments section down below. And we are going to move on to our next topic, which is Microsoft. Microsoft has been making some really big moves recently. First off, we've got some new quotes from Asha Sharma. And now, as of today, more breaking news. Just go back to the previous time when I made the sound. We've got more breaking news. Windows 11 now has Xbox mode built in, as long as you update to the beta whatever's. But now it's I tested it about 20 minutes before we did the show, or before we started the show, and my Windows machine that I've been using so that I could test this, I can now unlock it with my controller. So I no longer have to jump through all those hoops. It's now a controller first UI. I'll probably have more to say about this down the road. But let's talk about those Asha Sharma quotes. Where did this button go? I want to throw this on the screen. Whoops, share. I can't click on the button. All right, I guess I won't put it on the screen. All right, so here's the quotes that she said. She said, Game Pass is becoming too expensive for players. Game Pass is central to gaming value on Xbox. It's also clear that the current model isn't the final one. Player behavior, current economics, and markets vary too much for a single approach to work everywhere. Short term, Game Pass has become too expensive for players, so we need a better value equation. Long term, we will evolve Game Pass into a more flexible system, which will take time to test and learn around. Okay, so that's her first quote. She got another quote that we'll talk about in a second, and then after we talk about both quotes, we'll talk about the Xbox mode. What do you guys think about what she has to say here? Game Pass being too expensive. I mean, obviously, we all agree that Game Pass is too expensive. Otherwise, we wouldn't have all complained about it when they did it. But Russ, what do you think about her quote there?
I think my favorite part of it is that she said the word value twice, and saying that that's an important factor and it's central to gaming value on Xbox. And I used to feel like Game Pass was one of the most valuable things that you could find. I think it's Paris who often will say it's like the best deal in gaming, right? Or it used to say that. And it's lost its value to the point where we've all kind of talked about how we're just going to kind of let it slide. Like when it, when it expires, we're just going to let it go, And if she can make any sort of change to that, I think acknowledging that it's too expensive is a good thing. I don't like some of the wording where it says like short term, it's become too expensive. I'm like, okay, well, what are you saying? Like, it's not going to be too expensive in the long term. Like, I don't like that wording right there, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's good just to see someone acknowledge that it is not a good value for the price.
So when she says that long-term part, she says long-term, we will evolve Game Pass into a more flexible system in which will take time to test and learn around. I mean, the only way that could be a good thing is if they say, okay, instead of picking a tier, you just choose the things that you want. And then they calculate a price based on what you choose. So maybe I want feature A, feature C, and feature L. I click on those three. My price is $7.99 per month. Rich likes those three things, but he also wants to have access to EA. So his price is, $11.99 per month because he selected one other box. Yeah. Rich, what do you think about that?
I think I like how do I say this? I think I'm more positive on Asha than most people are or ever have been, right? Like I think even when she was first introduced, I wasn't positive, but I wasn't negative, and everyone pretty much consensus was negative, right? And so I wasn't there.
You mean everyone as in the internet, not the people on this show?
The internet. I would say the people on this show were generally negative too, though, right? Like
I would say I was very wary. I was very What's the word I'm looking for?
Skeptical. I was skeptical.
Yes, I was very skeptical.
Yeah,
mostly because of her background, where she came from.
I would describe myself at the time as cautiously optimistic, and I say that to say I think I'm reading this very generously, right? And so I may be biased here, but what I'm reading, the short-term part where she says short-term Game Pass has become too expensive for players, so we need a better value equation. Long-term, we will evolve Game Pass into a more flexible system. The way I'm reading that is more like all I know right now is that Game Pass is too expensive. What I will learn over time is what are the levers that I need to pull exactly to give you a better value, right? Or the best value that you're looking for. So I'm reading that very generously, where it's like, it's not that she's going to go back and turn it, expensive again. It's that she's admitting she's still kind of figuring out all of the things that she doesn't know yet. But I love that you latched onto that, the fact that she said the word value twice. I didn't catch that. I think that's a great point. I do also kind of on my point of like feeling generous towards her. I think a lot of the discourse has been around like, oh, she's saying the right things. And I totally agree and empathize with that sentiment that she's saying, like, meaning it, it's easy to say the right things. It's hard to do the right things. And I get that, right? I'm totally with you. But I also want to say Xbox wasn't saying the right things 6 months ago, right? So like, I think it is a step up and a step forward to be saying the right things right now.
I think that's fair. I think that, when someone says the right things, like, she's like, oh, maybe we should bring Blades back. And it's like, okay, who told you to say that? That's kind of our first thoughts, right? But there comes a time where someone says enough of the right things that you stop waiting for the other shoe to drop, because they're like, okay, maybe they just say the right things, Right. And so I'm not there yet. I feel like, yes, everything she's been saying, I'm like, I'm good with that. But my worry is, saying evolving Game Pass into a more flexible system. To me, that's like, all right, I don't want more tiers. I just want something that makes more sense. My other worry is that it won't, like Bill, you're talking about content related tiers. My worry is it's going to be a different style of tier, like time-based tiers, like 100 hours a month. Oh, yeah. Like the whole like GeForce Now kind of thing. Right. And so that's my worry, is that she's going to try, or they are going to try different aspects and see what works. And that's fine, like if they're trying it out, but I just worry that we are going to get the short end of the stick in the end of the day. It's never like a deal gets better for consumers, and that's kind of what I'm worried about.
I'm going to plus one that. Sorry, Bill. Do you want? Okay. I'm going to plus one that because, I agree. I don't want time-based tiers. It's actually going to be really hard to bring me to Game Pass. But even still, I don't want time-based tiers. I don't want more tiers. And I do believe that these are the answers that Asha will come up with, or like all of that team will come up with, is that we should have more tiers so that people can pick all of these things, or we should have like you select these things. But like really the problem is just like what I want is pretty simple. Is I do want first party day one games, and I do want them cheap, to be honest, right? Yeah. So like it's gonna be hard to beat that or to meet that. And then the other thing I don't want, shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Time-based tiers. No, I lost it.
I will say, add to your thing too. You're talking about, picking and choosing. Like, I want this first party. I want Call of Duty. I want Fortnite or whatever. You can kind of pick and choose. I worry that if you make a system like that and then you put it in the hands of gamers, they're going to make a game out of it. And they're going to figure out ways to manipulate that system for their own benefit. You know what I mean? And then they're going to try to cover that up and patch it. And it's just going to be like this crazy system. And I personally would, rather than hear say, we're going to make a system that'll work for you and dynamic or whatever, just come up with a good system that makes sense for everyone. Like, that's what I'd love to see. Maybe I'm being overly simplistic, but that's kind of where my heart's going. You know, I want something really simple and easy. Rich, I'm with you. It's like first party games, day one. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we had a great system. We had one. It was awesome. And then they changed it and made it more expensive, you know? And they said, we wanted to bring you more value, so we decided to bring you Fortnite shit that you don't play. We wanted to bring you EA stuff that you're not interested in. We bought you Ubisoft stuff. I just wanted the Xbox first party stuff. That's exactly what I wanted. And if they give me that for a cheaper price, then that's awesome. The idea of them doing time-based tiers, I mean, on its face, when GeForce Now announced that they were doing the 100 hours thing, I was like, oh, that's friggin' terrible. I don't play 100 hours of games per month. I don't have the time to play 100 hours of games per month. Rich, do you?
No.
Russ, do you?
Not at all.
And no and I bet all of us said that's lame. I don't like it. Am I wrong?
Well, yeah, but I think I stand by that.
Yeah, right, but I think we were kind of advocating for everyone else. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking about the guys at their desk and just playing all day. You know, living the life. Like, I want them to have the best experience possible too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But the thing is that I would say most people that complain about those time tiers probably would never hit that time thing. Especially, I see the comments from everybody that watches our shows. They're old, like us. Like, they're a bunch of dads who have things to do and they don't have that much time to play. But just knowing that 100 hours is your limit somewhere in the back of your head takes all of the fun out of playing. I don't know why, but it does for me.
It's like a ticking clock. It's like a timer. And that's what's not fun about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't watch, let's say, I don't know how much Netflix I watch, right? But, like, maybe I don't watch 100 hours of Netflix in a month. And that, it would still be weird if that was a limit, right? And I think to extrapolate that further, you know, you can't watch all of the Netflix library either, right? So, like, if they were to put a limit on that there's also the notion that, like, it to the point of your discomfort bill is like, if the limit is 100 and you only reach 20, well, like, clearly you're overpaying, right? Like, you're clearly,
yeah, that's true.
You're overpaying by a lot. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer, but I don't like that system. And by the way, I did remember the other thing that I don't want, which is, they haven't made up their mind in a long time. Xbox hasn't, right? Like, they keep changing everything about them, about themselves, about their identity. And that's what I think they really need to figure out. So, like, I understand that Asha's still working through it as a new, you know, executive for this company. But hopefully when they make their mind, they're able to stick to it and not keep changing the deal.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me back to what Russ said earlier, where it was like, who told you to, when Asha says the right thing, and people are like, who told you to say that? Honestly, I don't care if somebody tells her to say something, if it means that we get what we want. If we get a good product, right, I don't care if she's the one that comes up with the idea. And anybody that does, I feel like they're just being disingenuous. And I'm not saying that that's what Russ was doing. But I feel like those people are being disingenuous for the sake of either being contrarian or because they don't like her in the position for whatever other reason, external reason that they're not happy that she's the person who's in charge of Xbox. Yeah. That part always bothers me when people are like, who told them to say that?
Yeah, and I should clarify that I was basically quoting things I've seen on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, people put those comments underneath, like, all right, who told you to say that or whatever. I'm with you. I'm like, okay, if you're surrounded by good advisors and you come up with a good idea, then it's a good idea. Like, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Like, I'm not expecting Asha Sharma to come in here, guns a-blazing, Instacart, background, an AI background, and be like, all right, here's how we fix a Xbox. I don't expect that out of her, but I expect her to listen to the people who understand what they're doing. So, yeah.
And listen, there is a decent chance she's just blowing smoke up our ass, right? And that's
absolutely
fair. That's more than fair. And beyond that, Microsoft has a long history of it, right? So like it's fine to be skeptical, more than skeptical of what comes next. I think for me, I had enough of the Phil Spencer era. I actually like Phil Spencer quite a bit as an executive, but I think I have had enough of that era and I was ready for something new. I don't know that this was what I was looking for. I don't know what I was looking for, but I'm hopeful that just a change will, spark something.
I think for sure it's way too early to tell. Like, there's no way for us to know at this point if good changes are coming or not. But speaking of changes, let's change to her second quote that she had posted, which is, I'm going to try and put it on screen again. Here we go. It's clear that our ambitions require deeper investment in the Xbox platform foundations than we've made before. Today, we operate across dozens of surfaces, pipelines, and release models without a shared code repository or common data foundation. As a result, quality and speed too often depend on heroics instead of systems. We also lack consistent infrastructure for experimentation, attribution, and learning, making it harder to know who's working to improve quickly. On the product side, and this part's the part that's really jumps out at me, our front end is a set of experiences built at different times where discovery, relevance, and social are not first class, and players have to work hard to find what to do next or who to play with. And here's what I'm thinking about this mostly. It feels like she's saying, we got Windows, we got Xbox, and it's like we're speaking too many different languages. We got to get everybody piped in on the same thing. We got to get all of our UI and interfaces to look the same. We got to get everything to be the same, so it makes it so that the difference between Windows and Xbox doesn't really exist anymore. In very simple terms, that's how I imagine that she's kind of saying, which goes with the Xbox mode that came out today. And I tried it and I was like, hey, it's a controller first experience. It's still just the Xbox full screen experience, but now I can log in with my controller. So I'm still not happy with it. And I'm absolutely switching. Like this SSD right here, this has Linux on it. I will be switching this back right away. I'm not interested in the Xbox full screen experience, or Xbox mode as they call it, because it still seems half-baked. But it is a very, very tiny step in the right direction. Russ, what do you think about this quote?
Yeah, I like it. It shows that there are cracks in their system, which I think is good. And to acknowledge that is important. Windows to me, especially the full screen experience, feels like like a house of cards, where it's just like these things stacked on top of each other. It's wobbly, and, full screen, Xbox mode, as they're calling it now. It just feels janky. Like, it's just like you go in, you don't know where your cursor is. It just doesn't feel fluid, not to mention the fact that it's presenting you information that's not your priority. And so you got to kind of work against it. And I saw a video this week on Twitter, and it was someone saying, I want full screen or Xbox full, what do they call it? Xbox mode to feel like this. And it was just them messing around with the PSP OS, just moving back and forth between like the videos and stuff. But it was so snappy right? And it just makes sense. Like, okay, UMD settings or whatever, they're just like going back and forth, and it's just like working like that, and that's where I like the stack of all the programs and everything else on top of Windows is what's causing a lot of this disconnect, and I think that that Asha is nailing it here, just talking about quality and speed too often depends on heroics instead of systems, and consistent infrastructure for experimentation, attribution, and learning. Like, it's just hard for all these layers to actually make sense. And that's one of the beautiful things about a simple, streamlined OS experience like Steam OS compared to, and so that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, when I read this, what was interesting to me was I had a reaction that is, I think, different than the both of you, and that is for a very specific reason. So, for context for the viewer and the listener, Bill, you gave us show notes like you always do every week, and we can optionally look deeper into the links. But in the show notes, you just put the quotes, right? You didn't say where this quote came from. My first reaction when I saw this was as an employee. I don't work for Xbox, clearly, but I read this as an employee, and I'm like, oh man, this is catnip for employees. And I dig into the site, and what I see is that, yeah, this is a leaked memo to employees. And obviously, leaked memos, we've seen them before, and sometimes they could be intentionally leaked. There's a chance for that. And even this one could still be intentionally leaked. But it's clear to me that this was not intended necessarily for the gamer audience. I think this benefits the gamer audience for sure, but I think it's clear to me that this was intended for the people that work for her. She says, I'm just going to repeat some parts here. It's clear that our ambitions require deeper investment in the Xbox platform foundations than we've made before. So investment meaning hiring, right? Today we operate across dozens of surfaces, pipelines, and release models without a shared code repository. So again, catnip, right? Like we're building all of these things, and we're building them in all these different places, and people are doing the same work over and over again. And then she says, finally, the big one for me was, as a result, quality and speed too often depends on heroics instead of systems. One thing I've been preaching about at work all the time is like, if we have a problem, it's probably not a people problem, it's probably a systems problem. How can we fix the systems problem? And that's what she's saying here. And anyone that works with software developers has seen trying to fix things with heroics. I want to work the weekend to get this fixed, rather than saying that is a smell, right? Like that tells us that maybe we don't have the right staff, or we don't have enough staff. We need to hire the right people or more people so that doesn't happen, right? And so the thing that I have is like, slow down to go faster. And what I'm hearing her say is, we're going to slow down to go faster. Again, it's easy to say that, it's hard to do that. But I think that's an interesting perspective, is not just what this means for gamers, but what this means for employees, and, downstream what that'll mean for gamers.
Yeah, part of it, to me, like the cynic in me also hears this and thinks these are all great ideas. And I'm with you, Rich, and it's like, I really appreciate when new leadership comes in and they start looking at things holistically, and they start looking, like I saw it all the time in the military. It was something I always appreciated, as long as they actually followed through and actually made those changes too. And so what I'm seeing here is that, yes, these are all great ideas on the Xbox side, but how is this going to coalesce with Windows? Sure, she's got all these great ideas for Xbox. They want to make this 100%. Excellent and stuff, but Windows is like, well, we still need all these layers and stacks for all of our other things. And they're just kind of pushing against the system at that point, even within their own company. And so that's kind of my worry too, is that, the greatest Xbox plan in the world may not amount to much if Windows doesn't follow suit.
Do you think that there's a world in which she posts a memo like that, but she hasn't gotten it cleared by Satya Nadella first?
Oh man. Yeah, good question. So like, I think it's possible that, okay, I think she definitely got it cleared by Satya, right? I don't think that it's evident from this that Satya's bought in to this, meaning you get to also coalesce beyond Xbox, right? Like coalesce efforts in Xbox and outside of Xbox. I don't think that this means that Satya's bought into that necessarily. Yet, I do think that Satya's bought into that, right? Like, I think something has turned a corner with Satya, or Satya has turned a corner somehow in this last 6 months, or probably beyond that, right? Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I think it's the only way that it works.
Yes,
The only
agreed.
way that Xbox is going to exist and survive in a way that is relevant,
Yeah, agreed.
in 2026 and forward, is if Satya Nadella has bought in and said, "Yep, we got to change Windows to make Xbox better, and if we don't, it's just going to fail." That's just my opinion. Maybe I am biting off more than I can chew.
I would say too that there's a potential here that, you know, within her own little sphere of influence, that Asha does make some sort of change that shakes things up, that shows a huge, like, improved response among user base, and, you know, just like a better streamlined process. And then that's what inspires them to change Windows, right? Like kind of changing it from within, where you're the example and you say, hey, we could all be doing this and we could all be succeeding. And maybe that's what kind of picks up momentum if it's not already there. And so I got faith that, you know, if they are going to try to push these things and really think about things at a fundamental level, I like what I'm hearing here, and hopefully that'll kind of trickle down to everything else. But yeah, we don't know. We're speculating on a leaked memo at this point that may or may not have been leaked on purpose.
That's
Yes.
absolutely true.
Yep.
All right, last thing for Microsoft, real quick. With Xbox mode being the Xbox full screen experience, does that make you guys just say, I'm done with it, I'm not interested? Does it change your interest in Project Helix if that's going to be the UI that we get when the same thing that you got on the Xbox Ally X? What do you guys think? Rich?
I'm not interested. I am interested. I kind of wish they had waited for the rebrand, like waited to call it Xbox mode until it had the things that we were talking about when we first heard Xbox mode, like the ability to play Xbox 360 games, potentially Xbox One games, all of that stuff. Like, that's what I'm looking for from Xbox mode, in addition to it being a fully seamless experience, right? And I wish, that they had gotten a little bit more of that, a lot bit more of that, and before they really rebranded. I think the rebrand was too soon.
Do you think that, I mean, it is in beta. It's not on the main channel, so it's in the canary build, basically. And, you know, they got to get feedback from customers so that they can see if what they're doing is good or not. Does that...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Russ.
I was just going to say that, like, I don't think it was a bad thing to do that, because Xbox full screen experience was the worst name ever. So they got to change that name. You know what I mean? And so, like, just change it now. Like, make the system better. You know, Steam Big Picture mode was kind of crappy for a long time, and then it got better, and the name didn't have to change, you know, because the name worked fine. So I'm not too worried about that part of it. I do think that we're still... in that beta, you know, we're all the test people at this point. We're the crash test dummies for it. But my biggest thing is that, at some point it's got to get good, because I got my Xbox Ally X sitting there with Windows, and I'll pull that thing up and I'll update it, you know, spend 2 hours going through all the various updates, and then I'm like, okay, how is it doing now? And it's the same old crap, you know. And it's like, I'm so tempted to just put Linux on that thing and just wipe it, you know, and I just don't. Because I want to be able to test it. And at some point, I'm going to get fed up, just move over, unless it starts to make some changes. So I don't know what the timeline for that is, but I definitely want to see that soon.
I think if they were going to change the UI, they would have changed it with Xbox mode. Like, I feel like the UI that we have now is what we're going to see with Helix when it comes out. Which I think is just, it's a terrible UI. It really is. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let us know what you guys think about all this Xbox nonsense in the comment section down below. We got to talk about Nintendo, because I was flipping through Twitter the other day, and I saw Carrie actually talking to somebody about the idea. I think he was like quote tweeting somebody at Digital Foundry about the idea of a Nintendo Switch. Let's just pretend that there is no such thing as the old Switch. We're just new Switch, okay? The Switch 2. But Nintendo Switch without a screen, without a battery, with an HDMI cord that just goes into the back of your TV. It's just a console. And I'm not sure if he got this idea originally from Digital Foundry, but they had like, what's the word I'm looking for? They had a segment where they talked about Nintendo making a Switch 2 home console and whether or not they should. Now, admittedly, I have not had a chance to watch their segment on this, so I don't know what they came down with. And I'm definitely going to watch it this weekend and check out and see what they have to say. But I thought it would be a good talking point for us to just to say whether or not we think it would be a good option for Nintendo to make a Switch 2 that just hooks up to your TV and has a controller. So, Rich, I know that you are, of the three of us, I think you're probably the most handheld for when you play.
Handheld-pilled?
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot on TV.
Yeah.
But would you be interested in a Switch that obviously is cheaper than $450 because you could just plug it into a HDMI, and it would also be less limited on TDP, so you could probably get a little bit better performance.
You know what this reminds me of too is we had this discussion basically last week, 2 weeks ago with PS6 and the potential of a Canis handheld. So Canis being the CPU or APU that's going to power the PS6 handheld. So there was a leak of perhaps PS6 is going to have a console version of this handheld. And Russ, you were pretty like uncomfortable with that notion, and I think your motivation was more so just the number of SKUs. But I feel the same way about this, right? Like I'm not sure that it is a clear. I'm of two minds. One, I'm unsure that this is like a clear enough message to people that are going to the store to buy a Switch or to buy a PS6. Like it could muddy the waters, right? On the other hand, there is the notion that, like, going back to PS6 in particular, let's say the handheld is $600, which is pretty pricey, right? But let's just say around $600. Then maybe you can get the console down to $500, and then all of a sudden you have a next generation console that is $500, and so that is an attractive thing, and it's hard. It's going to be hard for Sony to let go of that potential and build. To your point, if Nintendo can offer a $350 box, that's just hard for me to say no to, not for me to buy. I'm not interested in buying it because, like you said, I am going to play on my handheld, but I got to imagine that opens up the doors for a lot of people, and Nintendo in particular, not unlike Sony, but in particular, they've been very good at releasing new models and making them distinct and making the proposition value clear to gamers and to consumers. So I think, yes, they could do it. I don't know if they will, of course, but I think they could pull it off.
You know, you bring up kind of what Russ was talking about how it complicates for the consumer. What thing do we buy? And I've been thinking a lot about that in the last week since we talked about this stuff, and it makes me think of Apple. Apple has so many different SKUs. They're doing just fine. Like, you can go in there, you can buy a MacBook Neo, you can buy a MacBook Air, you can buy a MacBook Pro. There's different versions of each one of those. And then on top of that, you also have iPads. So there's so many, and desktops, and like all-in-ones that are just a screen. You have so many different options. What were you going to say, Rich?
You know what I was surprised by recently is Kindles. I had no idea there were so many Kindle SKUs now. It's like there's Kindle Paperwhite, Kindle Color, and each of Paperwhite. Jeff Bezos is coming after me now. So there's at least those three. There's a a writing model too, and each of those have like at least two SKUs within them. So the Kindle has at least two, Kindle Paperwhite has at least two, and the Color has at least two. And so so that means there's 7-8 SKUs of just Kindles. So like I had no idea.
Yeah. Marquez Brownlee he's a tech YouTuber for anybody that doesn't know. He has a really good like thing that he says about this phenomenon. He says it's called laddering. You have like basically if the lowest rung on the ladder is really, really high, it's hard for people to reach. And if the rungs on the ladder are far apart, it's hard to climb that ladder. But if they're close together, it's easy to climb that ladder. And so having a lot of different SKUs with a lot of different options where the price points are pretty close together, generally what will happen is the consumer or the customer, depending on how you want to look at us, they get on that first rung. And then they say, it's really easy for me to climb up to the next rung because it's only this much more, and then I'll get this feature. So then they climb up to the next rung. Well, now they're up one more rung, and the next rung is, again, within easy reach. So for Nintendo to have, I don't know, a $350 next-gen console, I would say probably get rid of this is the time when they put it out and it doesn't have any cards at all, so it's just digital. And it's got because that's some cost that you can yank out of that thing. Put a camera right on the front of it, or don't, if you want to yank more cost out. But you get this thing, you set it underneath your TV, and it comes with a Pro controller. People are gonna say, okay, $350, I can get that. Oh, wait a second. I can get the Nintendo Switch Lite for this price. Oh, wait a second. I can get the Nintendo Switch 2 for this price. Wait a second. There's the Nintendo Switch Pro. I can get that for this price. And it pulls people up that ladder.
Right.
But for the people who can't climb to the next rung on the ladder because they can't afford it, well, they just sold a system to somebody that otherwise wouldn't be able to buy one at all.
Right.
And I think it's a no-brainer that they should do this. I don't think they will. And just for the record, I have been saying this since the original Switch, back on my Nintendo Switch podcast, Nintendo Switchcraft, which was a million years ago, it seems like. So it was when the Nintendo Switch first came out is when I did that show. So I've been saying this for a really long time, that a TV-ass video game system is what Nintendo should absolutely put out in addition. Russ, what do you think?
So I've been thinking about it. I mean, I don't use the Switch 2 in handheld mode, mostly because I don't like those joysticks, and I just can't get over it, and I've got so many other ways to play handheld games, and so it's just not necessary. I want a couch experience when I'm playing that. So I like this. I find appeal in this, and I think that they could market it appropriately, especially at a good price point. And yeah, it just kind of puts together an ecosystem. For me, this makes a little bit more sense than this PS6 Lite and a PS6 and then a PS6 handheld, because those are varying levels of performance and chips and everything else, whereas this is just a Switch 2. And sure, they could clock a home console a little bit higher and get better performance, but I wouldn't see them doing that. I think they would just want to standardize everything. It's like Switch 2 is Switch 2.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
And so I wouldn't really see that. But yeah, I could see that being as an option. It's like it removes the hybrid aspect. It removes the Switch aspect of it, more or less, but the Switch Lite also does the same thing where it's not dockable. So yeah, I could see this being a component, and it makes sense to me, and it would be kind of neat, like the little tiny, it would be small too, which would make it super cute,
Right.
they could really pull that off if they were going for it. But whether or not they're going to do it, yeah, I don't know.
Russ, if they did it, just assume they're going to do it. If they did it, would they support VRR?
Ooh. Yeah, I think they would have to, right? They'd have to do whatever the Switch 2 can do, right? I don't think
Switch 2 doesn't support VRR on the TV, does it? When it's docked, it does.
I thought
I have
it did.
no
Maybe.
idea.
Am I thinking of the wrong
Everybody
thing?
Google.
Yeah.
Let's all Google it right now.
Or is it the high frame rate that it doesn't support on the TV? I thought there was something
you're
it
right.
doesn't.
Currently lacks official reliable VRR support when docked to a TV. So yeah, I just never had really thought about that. VRR is not a huge component for me in a home console environment. It's my TV's fine. It just works fine, But
what's
that is
the NVIDIA thing? The VRR NVIDIA
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I forgot what it's called.
Because it's a Tegra whatever chip, or it's an NVIDIA chip that has DLSS and all that stuff. So why doesn't it support it on a TV? That doesn't make any sense.
They say it has to do with the HDMI conversion through the USB-C port. So that could be something they could overcome with because it's USB-C to DisplayPort, and that might be causing an issue. So so who knows? Like that might be a component, but still, it's not. I don't know if that's a make or break feature for people who are just looking to afford a Switch home console. I think the draw here is really just that, hey, those cartridges that you have for your old Switch 1 or for your Switch 2, they're all going to work in here too. And it's just kind of your ecosystem here. They could do things that really sweeten the deal, which I think would be great. Putting in the Pro controller would be cool, but I don't know. That thing's like $90. So are they going to actually pack that in? I feel like they need a non-Pro Switch controller that isn't Joy-Cons.
Oh, right. That's not the Joy-Con. Well, I was just thinking non-Joy-Cons because they don't make sense for the TV, but that you're making a really good point that is too expensive of a controller for a pack-in.
I mean, Joy-Cons are expensive on their own too. And you'd also would lose some functionality like Switch Sports if you were to use just a controller, so I could see this kind of going everywhere, The other aspect for me is that they could really sweeten it by like being, all right, free Super Nintendo and Nintendo games. You don't need to have Switch Online, something like that, right? Where it's like it becomes not only a Switch 2, but they're like, hey, you have all the Switch Online like benefits as well, or something like that too. Like that would be really interesting.
I can see that being like a timed thing, but there ain't no way.
There's
Nintendo's
no way
saying goodbye to subscriptions because like that's free money every month for people just because they're like, I want to play Super Mario Brothers 2. I want to
see you and I. We got like different thing, like different ideas. You're like, no, they're never going to give up that free money, and I'm thinking it doesn't cost them anything, so they should give it away free. It's like the two sides of the coin, basically.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, let us know if would you. Well, Rich, answer your own question. Would you? Oh no. You did answer your own question.
Okay.
All right.
I was like, I don't remember the question anymore. I forgot.
Yeah, I think I was meant to say that earlier, and then you already answered it. But anyway, shut up, Bill. You're an idiot.
We love you, Bill.
All right. Thanks. And where were we? Okay. The last thing that I want to, you know what? Let's talk about PC gaming. This article I found over at PC Gamer is pretty interesting because it basically says... It says that PC gaming is the only place where more than 50% of revenue comes from games that are not in the top 20 of like popular games. So basically when you look at when you're playing games on console, most people are playing the new hotness. But on PC, most of us tend to play, I guess, the old hotness, And I know that I, for one, am definitely, well, I guess my question I don't know where I land on this because I feel like I do both sides of it. I regularly try out the new hotness, but I also lose interest in it incredibly fast. And so what I feel like, are you a top 20 gamer or do you play everything else? I already know Rich's answer, so I'm going to make him go last. But Russ, what do you think about yourself?
I'm looking at the top 20 of PC games, and it's like, no. Like on console, absolutely. You know what I mean? If I'm going to turn on my PS5, I am playing a PS5 game that's going to be in the top 20, Xbox, I'm mostly playing Halo and Call of Duty and Destiny, But Steam here, it's like Counter-Strike, Dota, Slay the Spire, Marvel Rivals, Crimson Desert on their number 9 right now. There's no game in the top 20 that I am playing regularly right now at all. So yeah, for me, I'm definitely more kind of going back and playing some of the older things or whatever. And I feel like that's a lot of PC gamers, those who are playing like their old standbys. People are putting thousands and thousands of hours into, I mean, Dota 2 is not a good example, but I know a lot of people put a lot of time into that, but that's also number 2 on the charts right now. So yeah, like I that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like how many hours played of solitaire are there compared to other games throughout the world, throughout history? And so yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Stardew Valley is number 21 on here, and that probably has gotten so much time from people.
Yeah, absolutely. Rich, actually, now that I think about it, okay, I'm going to say what I thought you were going to say, but now after he listed off those games, I feel like I want to change my mind. I thought that you were going to be like, no, I play the old stuff, or not the old hotness, but I don't play that top 20 stuff.
Right.
But aren't you the one on the show that's currently playing Crimson Desert? You also didn't you play Slay
Marvel
the Spire 2?
Yes,
Marvel Rivals you put
forever,
so much
right.
time into. When Balatro first came out, that was the rich game.
I guess those are top 20 games. Yeah,
They
I was gonna say Balatro not a top 20, but it was a top 20 game. Yeah, so maybe I am a top 20 gamer. I've never considered myself that, or at least not in a long time. So yeah, maybe you're changing my mind. There are so many interesting thoughts here. One of them is that like PC, right? This is an interesting breakdown of PC, because also PC, what PC is not just Steam. This seems to be mostly Steam, but like PC is like less than 50% Steam when you think about like Roblox, Fortnite, and Minecraft. Those make up more than 50% of PC usage, as far as I understand, not to mention League of Legends, right?
Solitaire.
That crazy awesome pinball game we had on Windows back in the day.
Yeah, the Galaxy one or whatever. Yeah. My father-in-law still plays solitaire every single day. He's been doing that for 30 years.
I want to jump in real quick.
That.
This is a very long time ago. This is probably, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. I'm not 100% sure. My dad had this very, very old computer. Like it had seen things. Like it was really old, you know? And I had found this game that I was playing one day. This is when I had first got out of the Army, and I was like crashing at his house, and I was working for him, putting siding on houses and roofing on houses. And I had found this game at a friend's house, and it was on 3.5 floppy disk. I brought it over to my dad's house, and I put it in. It's called DX Ball. Basically, it was like an Arkanoid ripoff. My dad fell in love with that game, and he would sit at that computer and play for hours and hours and hours. And his computer was slow enough that eventually it would get to the point where the game would slow down, but he could keep playing because the game wouldn't speed up because his computer couldn't handle it. So basically he would be able to play at a low frame rate and just keep playing forever. So it was either Russ or Rich that just said something about like their dad or somebody's dad was playing something, and that just brought me back to that moment when my dad was like showing me his ridiculous high score on DX Ball that went all the way across all, I don't know, 240 pixels that he had on that monitor.
That's awesome.
That reminds me of something too. So like thinking of just like classic time waster games on classic PC, right? So Minecraft here. Follow me. If you made a top 100 games list, I'm sure you would forget to put Minecraft on there. But if someone then reminded you, would you think like, you know what? I might have to knock something out to put Minecraft in this list.
Yeah.
I don't think I would forget to put Minecraft in the top 100 games. Like Minecraft is so huge.
All right, cool. Then you are my people, both of you. Either, because I would forget, but the fact that you would put it in, and then Russ, you would forget maybe, but then you would put it in if someone.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't forget.
When Minecraft first came out, I looked at a screenshot and I was like, I'm not interested in this. And then years later, I saw somebody playing modded Minecraft on Twitch. They're playing Skybox or Skyblock or whatever it's called, where basically you start on a box in the sky and you have to build an entire world. From that, you get a box and a block and a tree, and that's all you get. And you have to like build from this. And it's Sky Factory something is what it was called. I played that game for so many hours. Like just me and my son would just sit there. He would be on his computer, I'd be on mine, and we would play Sky Factory. And it was an amazing game. So Minecraft always jumps to my mind when I think of the top 100 of all time. So I would never forget it.
I'm an idiot. I just had a brain fart. I said Minecraft. I was thinking of Minesweeper.
My sweeper.
I'm just an idiot. I'm just an idiot, guys. That's all.
I would not remember to put Minesweeper on there.
I was
what
thinking
would I
about it
kick
earlier,
off?
but I didn't bring it up because I was like, I already said solitaire. I don't want to bring up another one. And you brought up Space Cadet Pinball or whatever too. So it's like, yeah.
Right.
You know, looking at this list though, the biggest thing that's standing out to me, and I still can't stop looking at it, number 15 game, most played game on Steam right now is Deadlock. Do you remember how we
That's
played that for
crazy.
like 5 minutes and we're like, this isn't ready, you know? But here we are. It's number 15. It's ahead of Team Fortress 2 right now.
Yeah. There was a recent, maybe it was a Deadlock video, but I don't know. There was something that was like criticizing, it was a podcast that was talking about High Guard, talking about a marathon, and essentially saying that like these games couldn't launch in early access because like it's hard to kind of get people to pay for that. Pay for a live service game already. That's going to be like not a subscription, but you have to keep coming back to play this game. But then also it's early access, and I think like Deadlock is the way you get away with that. That model is basically early access, but you also have to give it away for free, right? So maybe that is a challenge there. But yeah, Valve nailed what they were going for there, which is just like, yeah, play this game, try it, but it's it's in beta.
Hold on. It's not even in beta. They've never mentioned it.
Yeah.
They've never announced it. It was just leaked out there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's one of those, we mentioned intentional leaks earlier. I'm sure somebody at Valve was like, how do we do this? And they were like, let's just tell one person about it and then restrict access. Kind of like when Gmail first was around. And like I've had my Gmail account for I don't even know how many years at this point, but I got in back in the days when you had to get an invite from somebody.
Yeah, I remember.
And so you were like, "Hey man, y'all get any more of them Gmail invites?"
That's how they did it.
I
gotta say, like
Deadlock.
Yeah, well, I'll navigate through my Steam library sometimes, and I'll get to the letter D, and I'll be like, what the heck is Deadlock? Why is this thing in my library? It's because that one time we added it, But it's number 15 right now. Marathon is number 50. And think about all the hype and everything else that went into that. It's just kind of crazy how that all worked out.
Yeah, and Deadlock is even more complex than Marathon, right?
Right, yeah.
Oh, yes. And it doesn't have any controller support.
Yep.
Because I tried to play with controller and it's terrible. So like you got to play mouse and keyboard, and I don't want to play mouse and keyboard, so I stopped playing Deadlock. But I wanted to play Deadlock because it looked really cool. But how weird is it that an unannounced game is number 15 on the all-time? Right, that's insane to me.
That's crazy.
We've gotten very far away from our original topic. I don't remember what it was.
You
PC
guys
is talking about PC gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, PC gaming is cool. That's the topic. Everybody just leave a comment down below about why you think PC gaming is cool. And we're going to move on and talk about the games that we've been playing. Rich, you've been playing more Crimson Desert.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to play too much, but I did want to mention it here because I got to Crimson Nightmare.
Oh, okay. I think I texted him about this, and I was like, what the hell? I got my ass kicked. I haven't actually gone back and fought Crimson Nightmare again, but I did when I went to my barber shop a couple weekends ago. I asked him, and he was like, oh, you just do this, and you do this, and you do this, and it's dead. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, now that I know, and I just haven't done it again.
Yeah. I died once, and then I turned it off, and I actually haven't turned back on. I was playing on the Legion GoS, and I haven't turned it back on. That's more so just because I haven't had time. But yeah, it was a tough battle, and it was also tough to get into the battle, basically. I don't know if you remember, or if you had the same experience I did. But
there's 1,000 guys.
Yeah, exactly. And so it took me a long time to get into the battle. Then I got there and I just got smushed immediately. And so I was like, oh, well, yeah. What's funny too is I have a bunch of like Abyss artifacts that I have not like put into anything. I haven't like expanded the skill tree. So I need to spend some time and be like, yep, get me some more stamina, upgrade my attacks. I need to spend some time on that.
So okay, I had a weird moment. I don't remember when it was, but it was recently. I was playing the game, and I was in the middle of a fight, and I fat fingered the buttons or whatever. And basically what happened is I ended up picking up a tree that had been knocked down in the middle of a fight, right? I picked up an entire ass tree and I was able to smash guys with it. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? It was so cool. Have you done that yet, Rich?
I have not done that. Now I have to do that. I did try. So like there are forts around in different parts of the game. And so like I lifted the gate to a fort with presumably the same
the
effect,
nature's grasp or whatever it's called.
Exactly. And so like people were chasing me into the fort, and so I wanted to drop it on them. It didn't work, but that would have been amazing. So hopefully they add that in.
Yes. It's that game where things happen and you're like, I didn't know you could do that.
That's amazing.
So cool.
Yeah. I like the
Russ,
puzzles.
Go ahead.
Have you sorry, I didn't mean to go back to that, but it's weird. The puzzle mechanics, it's a different syntax, a different language. Have you felt that way about the puzzles in Crimson Desert?
I'm feeling like, okay, so there's a couple of puzzles that I came across and I just did not figure out at all.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at it and I was like, nothing that I am trying is working. And this was when the game had first come out, and then I was watching videos about it because, as you do, you get flooded with 15 tips to try in Crimson Desert. And I was like, I definitely want to watch a couple of these because the game doesn't teach you a lot of stuff. And so I figured there's probably things that I'm missing. Like I missed the part where it taught you how to lock on to an enemy. So Jimmy told me about that. So if that's the case, I probably missed other stuff. So I was watching one of these videos and they showed this puzzle that I had come across and couldn't figure out. And the way that they solved it is they had used nature's grasp again to pick up like a tree or a stick or a rod or something and stick it into this giant contraption so that they could use it as a lever to rotate the thing.
No,
and I was
that's
like,
great.
I was like, that's freaking brilliant. I wish that I had thought of that. And I feel dumb for not having thought of it. But if I had thought of it and then I had done it, God, I would have felt like a damn genius. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's what the game is really for, right? Because you're right. I've run into so many of those where it's like, oh, I don't get it, and I feel bad for not getting it. But then there are others that I do get, and I'm like, oh, that was awesome, and so that gives me more motivation to almost avoid those videos you're talking about, right? Hopefully I can go back to that someday and then it clicks. For those now I know, right? Like nature's grass, but those ones that maybe I didn't get and I haven't watched anything on, I can sort of come back to it later and be like, oh, you do that. And so, yeah, I want more of that feeling.
Yeah. And plus I also feel like it's the kind of thing where the language of the game, not the language like written language, but
right.
The design language of the puzzles is such that as you start to see things like that nature's grass thing that I was just talking about, you'll start to think about the puzzles in a different way than you did before as you solve more of them.
Yep, I'm totally with you. And I think there's a lot of that. It's, that's why I think it is this long game. It's dozens of hours, is because the more you do that, the more you sort of just internalize a lot of the mechanics, and then you come back to something and okay, I can do this here now.
Yeah, I think the one downside to Crimson Desert is the longer that I stay away from it, the less likely I am to pick it back up.
Yep.
And that is, it doesn't lend itself to taking a break. It feels like it's the kind of game where you have to be like, I guess this is my job now. And if you don't play it that way, then you start to lose that, because the controls are awkward, so you start to lose that muscle memory. The world is so big that it's hard to keep track of where things are and what you were planning on doing. It's a really interesting game that I think is going to go down as one of the all-timers for a lot of people. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to skip it because it has no story, or it has a story, but it's a shitty story. And at least in my opinion.
That's fair. Yeah. I think you're on the right track.
Well, Rich and I both played the demo for Replaced, but we haven't played the actual Replaced, I don't think. Russ, you've been playing Replaced.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, man. What are you thinking?
So first of all, I finished Resident Evil 4. So I went through and I finished that over this week, and loved it. Like every moment. And it's funny. I just recently played through the old one on my Steam Deck, maybe 2-3 years ago, and there were so many parts in this new one where I was like, I don't think this was in the old one, but I think it was actually. Like I don't know, I brain dumped it or something. But yeah, really loved the experience and super fun. I still, I used my cheats to get through and loved it. And I immediately started a new game plus with all my weapons, which is something I never do. And so I didn't get too far in that second playthrough, but really enjoying it.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. Hold on. So you beat the game cheating, no judgment on my part. And then you were like, well, now I have all these weapons, but you were cheating. Couldn't you have just unlocked the weapons already?
Yeah. But it's like I kind of earned them this time, like in my own way, and so it's like these are the guns that I've chosen and upgraded over the course of this. I've got like my broken butterfly, which is the Magnum, and I also in my new game plus I cranked it up to like the hardest difficulty too, because I'm like let's make this a challenge in its own way, where the ammo isn't the issue. It's that I gotta hit them a bunch before they get me, and so it's like it's causing its own like fun, and now that I'm like not as scared of the game because I like have been through it all, it's like a lot easier that second time around. Anyway, I rushed through the game because I was like, I gotta get Replaced on, because you guys all were like, oh, I can't wait to get this game. I'm going to buy it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, I better hurry up and play this game. And so I buy it day one, install it, start playing it. And then I check like my friends list, and Carrie doesn't even have it on his wish list. And he was the guy who was like, oh, I can't wait to play this game. I stopped playing the demo because I'm just going to buy it and play it, He's on travel, so understood, And then you guys both just have it on your wish list. I'm just like, dang it. Yeah. Like, I'm the guy that's ahead of the game now. I was just trying to catch up to you guys.
Yeah, and the worst part is, like, I have 3-4 games that I really want to buy and play this weekend. So it's Replaced, Pragmata, which is at like 97% positive reviews, Mouse PI. All three of those came out in the last 3 days. And then Jimmy was telling me about a game like Gray Zone Warfare that he wants to play. So I have all 4 of those, and I think I'm going to buy all 4 today. So yeah, good luck to me.
I have analysis paralysis. I can't decide what I want, because I'm the same with you. I want this and I want Pragmata, and I'm like, I could get the cheap one, but I also really want to play Pragmata while everybody else is playing Pragmata. And so I'm like, I can't make up my mind. Yeah. Go ahead, Russ.
So I will say it's as beautiful as it looked in the demo. And I'm at the part where now I've gotten like kind of to the demo part and stuff. So the prologue was beautiful. My son sat next to me and was like watching, and he was just like, wow, this is so crazy. He's like, are the graphics ever going to get any better? I'm like, nope, this is how it looks, dude. Like he was talking about the sprite, like the pixelated sprite, He's like, what is that? Is that a guy? I'm like, yeah, it's a guy, And so he was just used, like everything else is beautiful and amazing looking, but then the guy himself is kind of pixelated and more kind of obtuse, like it's just kind of not quite as clear, and it's fine. Like, I think it's great and artistic, and he just kind of was hoping for better graphics, I think. But yeah, it's working fine. It is surprisingly demanding on my computer. Like the same computer that I played Resident Evil 4 on, 1440p, no upscaling, 120 frames per second, played that on my TV the whole time. This one chugs at 4K 60. Like, it's pulling like 95% of the GPU's power to do that. Yeah, it's just not really well optimized, I don't think. And so it's really demanding as a game, which is surprising for like a 5 gigabyte game, But yeah, it's good. It's, in hindsight, if I hadn't been fighting to, catch up with you guys in my mind, I probably wouldn't have bought it yet. And now seeing the scores as they come out, it's significantly lower than Pragmata. I think I may have just gone the Pragmata route on my own. You know what I mean? Which is interesting for me. Like I wouldn't usually go for the more expensive game, but that does feel like it's a higher caliber game than this. This is a solid game. Like that, I think that's probably the best word I can give for it. Solid, but it is like a 7.5 to 8 in my mind. You know what I mean? It's not a 9. And yeah, I don't know how it's going to go. I'm hoping that maybe we'll see some optimizations and fixes and stuff. In general, the combat's fine so far. One of the major interesting things about it is that that the reviews are coming out, and it's really kind of changing the conversation about this game. So IGN, I don't know if you guys saw this, they gave it a 7. It's fair, you know. What's interesting is like IGN Germany gave it like a 9, you know, and it's like just the disparity they have there sometimes, and just regionally or just different reviewers. But the tagline, you know, IGN always does like the score and then they say a sentence about the game, right? And that's like their tagline. They'll tweet that out and stuff. So the tagline for this game is replaced is a gripping and gorgeous 2.5D action platformer, even though this AI-based adventure could do with a system update to completely iron out its bugs.
AI-based?
You got it. So in the story is that basically there's an AI that like kind of goes into your mind, and then you guys are like a partnership.
Freaking
right?
SEO. They did that for SEO.
People are going nuts about that AI-based adventure. They're like, this thing was made with AI, and they're just like slamming it everywhere. And the company had to like reply to IGN's tweet and be like, just to be clear here, no AI assets were used in making this game. The story has an AI like character in it, you know? And it's just funny how that conversation completely has changed now. And it's the war against like misinformation at this point, you know, which is really unfortunate because of one single tagline. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting kind of thing to see, considering we talk about AI all the time. This poor company is like being dragged through because of a tagline from like the larger game review publishers.
And I feel like maybe I'm being a jerk, but my reaction to that is that whoever wrote that tagline did it because not knowing that it would cause problems for whatever the company that makes Replaced is, but they did it not because it was the best way to describe the game, but because when people search for AI, it's going to come up in search. They did it for SEO. That's what my cynical brain is feeling right now. And that sucks.
It makes me think that if we develop our own game and we're going to have some sort of character like that, we need to call it a supercomputer and not an AI. So that way you don't have any of these problems when IGN writes a review on it. So,
oh man. Yeah. And the other thing that makes me think about is our discussion about like Metacritic, right? Like what if you just removed Metacritic? Apparently if you just remove Metacritic, people would take the tagline and then misconstrue that, right?
Right.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah. Sucks.
Well, another game where Russ wishes he hadn't listened to me.
It's okay. No, it is a fine game. It is a good game. It reminds me of Flashback and Out of This World. Yeah, I'm just not currently in a mindset where I want to play this kind of game. I kind of want to play Pragmata right now. I want to play like a, what was that name of that game? Vanquish on Xbox 360.
Yeah. I don't know.
I want a Vanquish style game, like a little bit mechy, a little bit fast, shooty. You know, that was a Sega game, but like that's the kind of feel I'm looking for. And I feel like Pragmata is going to give me that. It's got the Resident Evil engine, right? It's running that. And so it's like I'm very familiar with that engine right now, the feel and everything from Resident Evil 4. And so that's kind of what I'm in the mood for. But now that I've spent $20 on this, I don't want to spend $60 or $70 on the other one.
Yeah. Well, in our private Discord, Russ, you said something that I thought was very smart. You said that you were interested in Pragmata, but you were going to wait until it was $30. And I think, I mean, didn't you say it was? It's like I hate the. Okay, I'm going to say something, and then but I have to qualify it first because I don't want people to think that this is how I think. I don't like to think of $1 per hour. Like I don't like to think of a sweet spot when it comes to $1 per hours, because most of the time you end up buying a game, if you're buying it $1 per hour in mind, then you're like, this is 400 hours. I can play this forever. Most of those 400 hours are boring. You want to shrink all those hours down into something that's better. It's kind of like way back in the day, we would get 26 episodes of a TV show per year, right? Mm-hmm. And it seemed great. But if you go back and watch some of those, there were clearly filler episodes. And if you just yanked out the filler episodes and squeezed together all the other ones that weren't filler episodes, you'd have a freaking fantastic season of TV. And that's what I feel like we have now these days. maybe we went a little too far in the squeezing, and maybe we could drag it out just a little bit. But I feel like when you get that dollar per hour as the argument is something that I always try and avoid. But at the same time, Pragmata is like an 8-hour game. That's not me saying it's a bad thing. I love the idea of an 8-hour game. That means I might actually freaking finish it. You know what I mean? But it is just 8 hours, and it is $70. So, or is it 60 or 70?
It's 60. I just checked.
60.
But it's, okay. Like I mentioned in our chat, it's like it's got all the hallmarks of a game that I want. It's 8 hours, single player only. It only takes up 40 gigs of internal storage space to download it. You know what I mean? Like these are all the things I'm looking for in a PC game. But that $60 price point with a Capcom game, when those guys always drop those games down, it's one of those where I'm hesitant to just buy it day one.
Yeah. What do you think, Rich? Are you interested in Pragmata?
I'm so interested. And it's sitting at, well, I think I said this, right? At 97?
97.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like, I'm super interested. And the fact that, like, Russ, you're not super excited about Replace, that gives me even more motivation to go straight to Pragmata. The 8 hours out of mind, right? So maybe I will do Pragmata. That'll be my break. I am worried, Bill, to what you were saying before. I am worried that, like, I'm going to play Pragmata, I'm going to play Mouse BI, I'm going to play Replace, and then when I go back to Crimson Desert, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to do here. Yeah.
The thing I was chuckling, for anybody who heard it, a thing I was chuckling about a minute ago is I pictured Rich standing there and me standing there beside him. Carrie's not there. And there's these guys lined up with like Tommy guns pointed at us, and each one has like Replaced, Pragmata, and the Mouse Detective game, and they're shooting at us, and Russ just dives right in front of the Pragmata one, or not Pragmata, the replaced one, and saves us.
You're talking about dollar to hour played, then I think this is where we have that Minesweeper conversation. You know what I mean?
There you go.
That's where you're gonna win right there, basically. So,
right.
Anyway.
And then for my dad with DX Ball.
Right.
Did any of you guys ever play DX Ball?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. I definitely had some old Arkanoid-like game, like on my Commodore 64 and then our early PC, but I don't know the name of it.
It was definitely like a Windows PC back in the day. I'll see if I can find a video and I'll send it to you guys. All right. Well, those are the games that we've been playing. Let us know what you guys did. Did anybody play anything else before I wrap it up?
Nope.
Okay. Let us know what you guys have been playing in the comments down below. But we are going to get out of here. But before we do, you got to check out what these guys are up to. Rich, he's up to nothing. That's okay, because he's got a lot of games to play. Rich, do you have you usually have like a video you want to share or something like that? Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I'll share something that I shared with you guys. It's a video called Death of the Middle in Games. It's a video by Del Walker. Del Walker is kind of a person. I'll send it to you. Don't worry. Del Walker is a personality a bit in video games. Like he's on like Blue Sky and Twitter, but he's also he used to work for a bunch of AAA studios, including Sony Santa Monica. And this video is about the death of like what is traditionally called a AA game, and yeah, what that means for gaming in general. So I'll send you the link, Bill. I'll put it on our show notes, and you can share with the audience.
Yeah, everybody, anytime that you hear like Rich or any of us talk about like a link to something, the first thing that I usually post in the description on YouTube says show notes, and then there's a link to a document that is the same document that these guys are looking at right now, and it'll have those links in like the other links section down at the bottom or something. Russ, what are you working on, man? Other than that video you've been super busy with all day.
Yeah. So I finally released that Steam Machine video I talked about last weekend. That was the one where I forgot to hit record when I was doing all my screen capture footage, and I had to go back and stuff. I didn't go as far as to reinstall Windows. I was able to kind of work around that. And so I didn't lose that much time, but it just ended up being a beast of a video to put together because it was 3 different PCs and looking at how they would perform and stuff. But yeah, that one came out. I called it Let's Just Make Our Own Steam Machine. And it was just like showing cheaper than a Steam machine, what I expect about the Steam machine to be, and then like a homemade one as well, like 3D printed. And so like those are the three options I went through. A lot of fun. It's strange, that's a video that took me 3 months to put together, between all the coordination and testing and just like conceptualizing and stuff. And then like the one I'm going to release today is going to take me like 6 hours because it's just like testing and then editing it all together and talking and stuff. Fun fact about the Steam Machine one was that like my eye was like really swollen earlier in the week. Like it was like almost shut. So my face does not appear at all in the whole video, so I had to film extra B-roll, which took an additional day, But I did see a comment where someone's like, did we not see his face the whole time? Like that's somebody so noticed, which I thought was really kind of interesting. But yeah, my next video will be that trying out Steam on Rocknix and seeing how it works as opposed to Game Native and Game Hub and whatnot. Not a deep video, just more of a showcase and say how it works and how it's going, and then a follow up later on. And then after that, I'm not really sure. I might do a streaming setup video, like, hey, how to stream to your handheld from a PC. I've been overdue in making a new one. It's been over a year, and so I'll probably do something like that with Apollo and Artemis, which are my favorite apps for that.
Very cool. Well, let us know what you guys think about all that stuff that we talked about today in the comments section down below. And before you get out of here, make sure you subscribe, turn on all the notifications and that stuff, and then head on over to youtube.com/retrogamecore, subscribe there, and then youtube.com/fanthedeck. I forgot for a second there. And subscribe there. And then, he's not here, but he's always here in our hearts. And that's youtube.com/thefox. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. We will see you on the next one, hopefully. Thanks for hanging out with us. Stay rad, everybody.
Bye, guys.